What's new in the NFL this season? First ever NFL Week 18 regular season games, NFL playoffs with 6 wildcard games, including a Monday night wildcard game, and WagerTalk and Sports Memo handicappers lowering the price for the NFL playoffs. Last season, the NFL playoff pass was priced at $149, but this year, not only have we lowered the NFL playoff price to $119, but included NFL Week 18 for free. That's right. For $119, you get the final week of the regular season, plus the NFL playoffs through the Super Bowl on February 13, 2022, including any 5% best bets. No coupon code is needed. Just go to your favorite handicappers page at WagerTalk and Sports Memo and choose the NFL playoff pass in the football dropdown. And don't forget, if you buy before this weekend, get the remainder of the NFL regular season included for free.
Welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report Playoff Edition. I am Drew Martin, joined by Teddy Covers. We're breaking down the games, get you on the right side of some of these moves. Without further ado, happy Monday morning to you, Teddy. Welcome to the show.
So I didn't think that the show could get better, could have a better intro than it normally has. Normally you just think that welcome into the NFL Opening Line Report. It just, it gets your spine tingling a little bit. You're ready to roll. But when you add playoff edition at the end of it, it just kicks it up a notch. So obviously we're into the postseason right now. A ton to talk about today with the 6 playoff games on tap for this coming weekend. Let's see if we can get you on the right side of some of these line moves. Let's see if we can get you on the right side of some of these games. Break it all down. And the good news, once we get to the postseason, it's not a race. They're in the regular season and we got 16 games. I got to race through everything. Today we got time to talk. We got time for follow-up questions. We got time to answer perhaps some questions in the chat. So that's the good news about the Opening Line Report once the regular season ends. Let's get into it, Drew. 6 games to break down.
Absolutely, Teddy. 6 games, a new schedule as well, guys, including a Monday night game for the NFL playoffs. First time I can remember seeing that, Teddy. But yeah, let's just start off at the top of the card, guys. We're going down in rotation order using WagerTalk odds screen. And the first game up here, Las Vegas Raiders, Cincinnati Bengals. We're seeing it 141, 142. Mid-afternoon, East Coast, 4:30 p.m., 1:30 p.m. Pacific on Saturday, January 15th, guys. 49.5 being the total. We're seeing -6. There are 6.5s out there. That's the Cincinnati side as the home favorite here as the Las Vegas Raiders punch their ticket, Teddy, into the playoffs. Now head on the road. So we got Vegas at Cincinnati, Teddy. What are we thinking here? First playoff game.
So normally I have look-ahead lines to talk about. I'll go through my look-ahead line or what the look-ahead line was from the Westgate last week. I talk about what my powering number is, and we talk about where the line is and where the line is likely to go. Obviously, for the playoff games, we have no look-ahead lines. But what I did, I wrote down the openers from the Westgate Superbook. We use the Westgate numbers consistently. So I've got the openers from the Westgate that we can talk about and where the line has gone from that. So the opener here at the Westgate, Cincy -6.5, 48. I think there's a hook on there, 48.5. My powering number is the Bengals only -5 in this ballgame. It's not like I've been short on Cincinnati all year. And the betting markets now, we're seeing 6s and 6.5s. I don't get a sense that this line is going to move in any significant way. I think it stays below a touchdown. But it's not going to be one of the situations where it's dropping like a rock and the 6.5s are going to go and the 6s are going to go and then you're taking 5.5 with the Raiders. So this isn't one of these games where you have to get to the betting window right away. From a total standpoint, we have seen some over money. No question about that. If you like the over, I wouldn't hesitate to get involved today. The concern with that, of course, is what the weather's going to look like on Saturday in Cincinnati. The long-range forecast says there's supposed to be some light rain. There's supposed to be some light snow. It's supposed to be temperatures in the upper 20s or low 30s. It could be a very sloppy field. We saw a number of those yesterday. So that's something to be aware of if you want to get involved with the total. One of the things we're going to talk about is strength of schedule. That's one of the major issues we're going to talk about here on the show. I'm going to get to that in a minute when it comes to Cincinnati and Las Vegas. But, let's start with the Bengals and the quotes and all of that. Cincinnati was a no-show game for the Bengals yesterday. Burrow stayed at home. The backups were involved in Cleveland. Burrow does still have the sore right knee, which could be a concern here. That said, Zach Taylor, head coach, we finished the season on a really good note with a lot of confidence. These playoff games are special. You've earned this opportunity, and it's our best versus the best. Our guys are going to be ready for it. Jamar Chase, we feel good right now. Everyone's feeling good, getting back on their feet. Everyone's getting healthy, getting prepared. We're just getting ready for the upcoming game we've got at home. And these are typical playoff quotes for teams that haven't been to the postseason. Like the Raiders. Derek Carr's never played in a playoff game. The Raiders have only been in the playoffs once since he was there. And that came after he got hurt in the season finale. He broke his right leg. I forget it was the season finale or the game before. They ended up losing to the Texans. It was at the Nathan Peterman game for the Raiders.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. In fact, the third most regular season starts at a quarterback without a playoff start in the Super Bowl era. Only Ryan Fitzpatrick and Archie Manning have more than Derek Carr. And of course, it's the Raiders team. They lost 5 out of 6 games coming out of the bye week. They faced the abyss, and they rebounded to win 4 straight tight games, close out the regular season and advance to the playoffs. They've responded to adversity very, very well, considering all the issues that they've had this season. Of course, they've had 6 walk-off wins this season. That's the most of any team since the merger back in 1970. I'm going to throw back to you for just a minute, Drew, to talk about some of the Sagarin strength of schedule issues. I also have my powering numbers that I want to talk about. But if you could just give us a brief overview about what we're looking for and what we're talking about when it comes to the power rating differentials in the wild card round, because of all the games, this one has the biggest differential between the two teams when it comes to the strength of schedule they faced during the regular season of any wild card game.
Yeah, so Teddy, so it pretty much comes down to what the team that played the stronger strength of schedule guys having matched up against each other here in the first round wild card round of the NFL playoffs. That team that played the stronger schedule, keep in mind, different divisions here. That team usually wins, over 60% of the time, going back some length of period of time, multiple years here, Teddy. So yeah, the strength of schedule.
Way better than that. It's just using wild card teams
68?
with the higher strength of schedule. Just blanket. Wild card teams, the higher strength of schedule. 47-25 straight up. 48-22-2 against the spread. That's 68.5% winners. That's regardless of point spread. That's regardless of location. Teams with the strength of schedule, man, these are the Sagarin numbers, which I don't buy. But they give us, I'm going to give you my numbers as well for strength of schedule. But from the Sagarin numbers, when there's a differential of 10 points, of 10 or better in the strength of schedule advantage, they're ranked from 1 to 32. So when there's the difference of 10 or better in that ranking, the team that played the tougher schedule, 29-7 straight up, 28-6-2 against the spread, that's 82% winners. Nothing but strength of schedule. Long-term NFL playoffs. Wild card round. Underdogs with the better strength of schedule, 19-17 straight up, 26-10 ATS. That's 72% winners. We go back to 2002 because that's when the NFL expanded to the current format of 32 teams, 8 divisions with 4 teams each. So taking the team that has played the tougher schedule, especially the significantly tougher schedule, doesn't matter if they're dogs or favorites, doesn't matter if they're road or home, the team that's more battle-tested wins. The Sagarin numbers. Cincinnati faced the number 29 NFL schedule this year. The Raiders faced the number 8. So the Raiders faced a much tougher schedule. They are the underdogs in this one. What I do is I go back and I take my powering numbers for every single week, for every opponent that a team has played throughout the course of the season. I go through, this is what they played. Their opponent was week 1, week 2, week 3, using my powering numbers. And again, there is a huge differential between the Raiders and the Bengals. Las Vegas is battle-tested in a way that Cincinnati is not. And that makes me think this line may well be more likely to go down than it is to go up.
Yeah, guys, maybe look for this 6.5 out there. It's out there at multiple books. Looking at the WagerTalk odds screen right now. on the Las Vegas Raiders, but we're not emergency betting an alert, at least not as of right now. So that's the first game, Saturday afternoon, guys. We got the Saturday night game, 8:15 Eastern, 5:15 Pacific. Teddy, we get the New England Patriots at the Buffalo Bills. A little divisional matchup here for the third time this season. 43.5 being the total. -4 in the hook. That's the Bills at home. This is the Buffalo Bills, guys, hosting the New England Patriots. What are we liking here in this AFC East rematch for the third time here, Teddy?
Yeah, the first two were pretty good. Despite the weirdness of that game where the Patriots didn't need to throw the football a whole lot. Of course, you know me, I have to go back to what we were talking about a minute ago. Point differential, negative point differential, Raiders and Bengals. And we're going to see another game with a big negative point differential. That would be the Steelers and the Chiefs. Maybe I'll save it for that. Yeah, I'll save it for Steelers and Chiefs, but it's worth noting the teams with the bad point differentials, like the Raiders, like the Steelers, they've been moneymakers in the wild card round. Patriots and the Bills open at the Westgate 4.5 and 44. My powering number is Buffalo 5. The betting markets 4.5, 43.5 this morning. I'm not convinced the 4.5s are going to hold here, but it's not one of these you have to run to the window to bet it. I'm not getting that urgency for Buffalo, New England. I think there will be some line variance throughout the course of the week. What doesn't say you got to bet this one this instant, either side, for the Bills and the Pats. You know, when you look at some of the numbers, one of the things that get a lot of attention, or it gets a lot of attention in the postseason betting markets, yards per play differential. From a defensive standpoint this season, the Buffalo Bills, number one in the NFL by a wide margin when it comes to yards per play allowed. Some of the quotes yesterday from the Bills, who got a somewhat fraudulent cover against the Jets. And again, they sacked Zach Wilson 9 times, and they held the Jets to 4 first downs in that contest. The Jets' 2 scores both came off of special teams issues for the Bills. Defensive tackle Harrison Phillips, quote, "We'll defend a blade of grass. Put the ball on the 1-yard line. We're anxious. We're excited to go out there chomping at the bit to go get out on the field." It's certainly a Bills team that has gotten the job done on the defensive end all year long. Jordan Poyer, quote, "We bounced back from losses and from tough losses where everyone counted us out. Everyone said our defense couldn't do this, couldn't do that. Our offense couldn't do this, couldn't do that. Nobody panicked. Nobody read into it. Everyone just came into work every day and just worked." And of course, you know, the Bills won 4 straight early in the season following their week 1 loss. They won 4 straight down the stretch. And of course, third meeting in 7 weeks between these two teams. They are as familiar as it gets. Of course, the Patriots in Miami yesterday, it was a little bit. The first time that in all these years, the Patriots have come in as a wild card team. They were always the division champ in the AFC East. This year, 17 consecutive playoff appearances for Belichick as the AFC East champ. This year, they're a wild card. Of course, off the bad loss in Miami yesterday, and your typical Belichick quotes: played poorly, coached poorly, didn't do anything well, just too many mistakes, way too many. We'll look at the film, turn the page here, make some corrections, and move on to next week. That's really about it. It is worth noting, you know, they were down 27-10 in the fourth quarter of that game. And boom, they rallied, made it real interesting late before Miami ended up scoring a defensive touchdown in the very final play of the game when the Patriots were playing hot potato with the football. Matthew Slater, I think it says a lot about our character. We're not going to quit. You know as well as I do, at this time of year, going out there competing to the end doesn't mean anything if you don't have more points than the other team. And it's worth noting, Pat's defense would have gotten the ball back, and it wasn't, it was a Tua scramble. It wasn't a run or a pass that got him, a handoff or a pass play. It was one of those broken plays that ended up working out in Miami's favor. We're not used to seeing the Pats plus points in the postseason. The Bills are the team that's been there 3 straight years for Buffalo. Fascinating game. Really is in this one. And again, if you like New England, taking the plus 4.5 now, there's worse bets you can make. But in terms of, is this an emergency? You got to bet at this instant? Probably not.
Yeah, not so much there. We got 3 games on Saturday though, guys. So Sunday.
Let me just finish.
Yeah.
Sorry, Drew. I left out the strength of schedule
ahead.
stuff. Strength of schedule: New England, Buffalo, Sagarin. New England 28, Buffalo 27. Basically no differential. From a power rating standpoint, the Bills, for me, when I went through and looked at their opponent's power number on the game on the week the game was played, Buffalo has second lowest. The second easiest schedule of all playoff teams based on my numbers. And yeah, Sagra numbers are the same. Oh, no, they're third. They're behind Cincy. But the Bills, when it comes to being battle tested, Buffalo isn't there, perhaps, the way that some other teams are. The bigger difference is that I have the Patriots as a mid-level strength of schedule, and Sagarin has them way down near the bottom. So in terms of the week that the game was played, New England's opponents were a little bit tougher than perhaps their aggregate record might say.
Interesting. I like that one even more, Teddy. And and also, these two teams being in the same division, I wouldn't think that their strength of schedule would be that much apart, but it sounds like Buffalo's is a couple notches down, or at least.
Well, again, the Sagarin numbers don't have it. From the Sagarin numbers, the division teams should be fairly close, and when they're not, it raises a red flag.
Right.
But from my powering numbers, again, I'm just taking my number for their opponent on the week the game was played, and that can be very different, even for teams that played comparable schedules, depending on how healthy they were, the situations, et cetera, week by week throughout the course of the season.
Okay, good stuff here on the Saturday, January 15th card. We got 3 games on the Sunday slate and 1 actually on Monday, the inaugural Monday night game coming up. But first, let's kick it off here. 1 o'clock on Sunday, January 16th, Teddy. We get Philadelphia Eagles at the Tampa Bay Bucs. 145, 146, the rotation number here, guys. 49 being the total. We're seeing Tampa Bay minus 8.5, as high as minus 9.5 out there in the marketplace right now, Teddy. So looks to be a full point difference depending where we're shopping here. That's the Bucs as the home favorite. What are we liking in Raymond James on Sunday?
That being said, never forget when we talk about these 8, 8.5, 9s, there are books that go straight from 7.5 to 9 and never get to 8, 8.5. They call it teaser protection lines. Okay. There are other books that are happy to go to 8, 8.5. They don't take as much wise guy teaser action. So when you talk about key numbers in the NFL, 8, 8.5, not at or near the top of the list. And of course, it's open to 8.5 at the Westgate, total 48.5. My power rating is 8.5, and the markets are 8.5. There are some 9s, as you mentioned. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see some Tampa Bay money. The market's, it's a defending chance with Tom Brady playing at home, coming off a big blowout win over Carolina against a team. And again, the final score was 28-22 when these two teams met early in the season. I believe it was a Thursday night game. So it was a weird game to begin with. And Tampa had to travel, and they were up big early, and Philly kind of came back and snuck in through the back door, and the Eagles' offense didn't really work against the Bucs defense. But that game was so long ago. I don't worry about games in October right now. I really don't. The Eagles were 2-4 at the time and not looking anything like a playoff team. And they've been a very, very different team over the second half of the season. From a strength of schedule differential, the Sagarin numbers say you got to take Tampa here. Tampa at 23 in terms of power rating, in terms of strength of schedule. Philadelphia ranked dead last, the single weakest schedule in the NFL, according to Sagarin. My numbers tell a different story. Looking at their opponent the week the game was played, Tampa's got the single lowest cumulative number of power rating points for their opponents. So my numbers say the Bucs played the single easiest schedule in the NFL this year. Tom Brady, after yesterday's win, just felt good to win today. Whatever happens with other teams, you can't ever control any of those teams. Even for the next games, you're worrying about 2 games from now. I'm not worried about 2 games from now. I'm worried about 1 game from now, which is the Eagles. Brady, of course, saying the right thing. Rob Gronkowski, we did what we had to do, and the rest took care of itself. Which the Patriots, with the Bucs now with the number 2 seed. There was concerns yesterday that Mike Evans got hurt during the game, and he ended up coming back in. He ended up scoring a couple of TD passes. And Brady finishes with his second 5,000-yard season. Him and Breeze, the only players in NFL history to have multiple 5,000 yards seasons. Now, Philly didn't play. They were no-shows in week 17. They treated it like a preseason finale. Jalen Hurts didn't get involved. Lane Johnson, Darius Slay, 11 players were sitting on the COVID list. Nick Sirianni, quote, we thought it was an opportunity to get him back to 100%, talking about Jalen Hurts. We need to have our full arsenal of offense going into the playoffs. The Bucs, if you're going to beat the Eagles, you have to stop the run, period. The Bucs run D, solid, but it did show some cracks down the stretch. And again, from my strength of schedule numbers, my numbers, not the Sager numbers. Sager numbers say the Bucs play the tougher schedule. My numbers say the Eagles play the tougher schedule.
I like it, Teddy, as we head down the list here, guys. 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 Pacific kick for the next game, the middle game of the Sunday slate. San Francisco 49ers versus the Dallas Cowboys in the house that Jerry built. We see the Cowboys minus 3-point home favorites, Teddy. We're seeing 50, 50.5, and 51 out there in the marketplace as the total. San Francisco and Dallas here, Teddy. What are we liking in Dallas, Texas?
So I talk about the outliers, with Buffalo and the defense has only allowed 4.6 yards per play for the season. Everyone else is 5 or higher. From an offensive standpoint, San Fran's in some ways an outlier. The 49ers, the number 1 yards per play team in the NFL, tied with Tampa Bay. Lots of big plays produced from this offense. We saw it again yesterday. The first time that Sean McVay has lost in LA when he had a lead at halftime. 45-0 going to yesterday. The 49ers ended that with their come-from-behind victory. Look at the opener here for the Westgate was -3, 49.5. My powering number is a little bit higher. It's 4.5 on Dallas. The markets are at 3 and 50.5/51. It's clear to me this total is on the way up. You could emergency betting alert this total if you wanted, because it's not going down. But we've already seen the move on it. I don't know how much further it's going to go. We should emergency. You know what? Let's do it. Let's get that first emergency betting alert out there, because it looks to me real clear like this total. You can find a 50 in Vegas. You can find many 50.5s out there. This is going up. Could be 51, 51.5, 52. Who knows how high it's going to go. But if you like the Niners and the Cowboys over, I bet that sooner rather than later. I talked about San Fran, number 1 in the NFL, along with Tampa Bay, 6.1 yards per play. Dallas, just a 0.1 yards per play below them. They're number 3 in the NFL at 6 yards per play. So we are talking about 2 very explosive offenses when given the chance. Of course, Dak Prescott was going against the Eagles backups. He had a bunch of backups in too. He threw 5 TDs last week. The Cowboys have had their share of COVID issues, their injury issues. But when this team's healthy on both sides of football, I think they're legit contenders to go all the way. And like I said, my powering number is a little bit higher than the markets on this one. The San Fran's only been to the playoffs 2 times the last 8 years. Jimmy G's still not healthy. They didn't finish 7-2 in their last 9 ball games. Trent Williams is hurt. That's an issue. Mitch Wisnowski, the star left tackle, the punter, got hurt yesterday. Wisnowski, that's an issue as well. And of course, Jimmy G, quote, getting off to a slow start and then coming back like we did, it took everything. We say that a lot of weeks, but this one really did. I felt it after the game. I know a lot of the guys in the locker room did. It was worth it, though. It was one of those games you won't forget anytime soon. San Fran spent? I think this number's short.
I like
Back
it.
to you.
Okay. Yeah, guys, the middle game here on Sunday, we got Pittsburgh, Kansas City up next. You're listening to the NFL Opening Line Report playoff edition here as we're talking Steelers and Chiefs. NFL wildcard round, 46.5 mostly, Teddy, as the total. We're seeing -12 in the hook, -13 is available, mostly in the offshore market. That's the Chiefs in Arrowhead. The Steelers make the playoffs, Teddy. I mean, took the last day. They somehow made it. Now they get the Chiefs in the first round. Any shot here for the underdog? What are we thinking in Arrowhead?
There's always a look. Jacksonville beat Indy yesterday. There's always a shot. Okay, anything can happen. Strength of schedule. I didn't say it for San Fran and Dallas. There was nothing to report. 22 is Sagarin for San Fran. 22nd toughest schedule. 24th for Dallas. So strength schedule is real close. And my powering numbers say that as well, really, for the full season. Less than a quarter point per game difference between the two teams. So there's nothing for strength of schedule San Fran, Dallas. Strength of schedule Pittsburgh, KC. These are the two teams that played the two toughest schedules in football who made the playoffs. Pittsburgh finished with the third toughest. KC finished with the sixth toughest. Based on my powering numbers the week that the game was played, they were both, number one and number two of these the teams that made it this year in terms of power rating for their opponents. And there was literally 1 point of powering differential for the 17 weeks combined between them. So they're both battle tested. They're both teams that have played very tough schedules. The winner of this game is going to be in pretty good position, perhaps moving forward. Open 11.5, 46.5. My powering number is 11.5 for the game. The markets are at 12.5/13 this morning. Total 46.5. I'm trying to think. There's a feeling out there that the only team that's going to take money in this game is Kansas City. I'm not convinced that's the case. I know the Steelers have not stepped up in class well. And if Pittsburgh gets behind by 2 touchdowns, how do they come back in this game? There are all kinds of issues with the Steelers. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some KC money. And yet I haven't seen it. And there are reasons to like the Steelers, perhaps. I talked a few moments ago, I teased about when it comes to the teams with the negative point differentials. There's 2 of them in the postseason this year. Right? You have the Raiders and you have the Steelers. Both teams that, if you look at them objectively, you say these teams are mediocre at best. They don't deserve to be in the postseason. Go back the last 25 years in the NFL. All right, you're going to find 5 teams that have played in the postseason who have a negative point differential of at least 2 points per game. So minus 32 or higher for the full season. 5 of those teams. The 2014 Panthers, the 2011 Broncos, 2010 Seahawks, the 2004 Rams, and the 98 Arizona Cardinals. Those 5 teams in the wild card round, 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. So before you start betting against the Raiders or against the Steelers because they stunk in the regular season, everybody's 0-0 right now. Pittsburgh knows it. Look at the quotes. They have 0. No, they. What does Pittsburgh have left to take on? Yeah,
that's a crazy.
The Steelers. It's a stat that, again, no one's paying attention to.
Right.
That I had to Google that 6 times before I found what I was looking for. It's not out there.
Yeah.
You're
going back to the 98 Cardinals. That's a while back.
And some of those games I remember. I remember well the 2004 Rams game against the Seahawks, and I played big on Seattle in that game. Didn't work out for me because the Rams aren't a playoff team. This team stinks. Huh? They were that day, for what it's worth. Now I've lost my train of. I was talking about Pittsburgh and the quote to the Steelers. I talk about San Fran leaving everything on the field. Roethlisberger after another ridiculous tight win against the Ravens. Quote: I think last week was so much more emotional. Took it all out. Just made me feel like let's go play. At no point during this game did I think, man, this is it. It's almost over. It just didn't feel like that. Pittsburgh plays defense. Calais Campbell, Ravens defensive lineman, talking about Big Ben and the game-winning drive yesterday. Quote, you got to pay respect where respect is due. We made it hard on him, and he kept coming. He made the plays he needed to. Big Ben, he's a legend, making the plays in critical moments. He is a warrior. KC was about to lose to Denver before they had, an 86-yard fumble return touchdown. Broncos coach Vic Fangio, quote, that's a team that may win it all. They've obviously won a lot of games the last 4 or 5 years since Mahomes has taken over. Of course, Fangio is going to do anything that he can to put a quote out there that makes him sound like I would bring me back for next year. Andy Reid talking about the win. Quote, I love the way our defense buckled down. All a good win, an important win for the Chiefs. We'll see what we have by tomorrow night who we're playing. We sure look forward to bringing back a playoff game in front of our fans. teams off Super Bowl loser, off a Super Bowl loss aren't great in the postseason the next year, like KC was, like KC is this past season. In Pittsburgh, I know they haven't stepped up in class very well, and I know they don't rally back from behind, and I know they're not the team that has a big strength of schedule. But one thing the Steelers do have, the team's got heart and character, which may be worth something as a double-digit dog. All that being said, this game has the makings of the single highest point spread for a wild card game in modern NFL history. This line's not going down. So if you like the Steelers or if you like the Chiefs, again, at 12.5, why not get involved? I can't envision a scenario in which this line gets down to a key number like 11 for Pittsburgh. I do expect to see at least some Kansas City money. So for what it's worth.
I like it, Teddy. Great analysis. And this is the highest line for wild card weekend in modern NFL history?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
You don't see spreads in this point spread range in the playoffs very often.
Yeah, good stuff, Teddy. As we're seeing minus 12.5 at most shops, guys, minus 13 in the offshore market. As we're talking right now, we got one game left. Check out Teddy at WagerTalk and SportsMemo.com, guys. He's 56% going back since 2015 in the NFL overall. Also is 5% big tickets, 17-6, 74% since September of 2020. So check him out. Got a free play up at WagerTalk. Guys, in the chat box, feel free to fire away any questions you got here for Wild Card Weekend. Anything at the top of your heads, we'll try to answer it before we shut down the show. And if you're liking the content, please smash this like button. Mondays, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here on the Wager Talk YouTube channel. This is the NFL opening line report. Teddy covers, Drew Martin breaking it down. Last game, the first ever Monday night football game for the NFL playoffs. We're getting an NFC West battle here. A rematch, Teddy, a trifecta. The Arizona Cardinals and the LA Rams. We're seeing Rams minus 4-point home favorites. 50.5. There is a 49.5 as the total. Teddy, sending it over to you. What are we liking in SoFi?
Yeah, this was the emergency betting alert, but unfortunately it's already happened. There were 5s last night on LA, and those weren't going to hold. There were 4.5s this morning, and those weren't going to hold. And obviously we're seeing 4s now. My powering number was 4. The opener was 5 at the Westgate, total of 50. We're seeing now basically 450.5 at most locations. From a strength of schedule standpoint, Arizona, according to Sagarin, has played the much tougher schedule, number 12 ranked schedule compared to 21 for LA. From a power rating number perspective, based on my numbers, the differential is real small, 3 points over the course of the full season between the two teams. So that equates out to less than 0.2 points per game of tougher opponents for Arizona. It's not very much, but the Sagarin numbers say you do want to take the Cardinals. In this one, of course, the Cardinals, since starting 7-0, they went 4-6. They lost 4 of their last 5. They had a chance yesterday to take care of business and against Seattle, and they couldn't do that. James Conner got hurt in yesterday's ball game, which is a big concern. They scored a defensive touchdown on the second play of the game and still lost as favorites by margin at home. They have been better on the road. It's the first playoff appearance in 6 seasons, Kyler Murray's playoff debut in this one. And they are facing a Rams team that, they too had a bad loss yesterday. Again, McVay had been perfect, 45-0 with a halftime lead. Now he's 45-1. It cost them the number 2 seed. It cost them a chance to host 2 playoff games. It's the only one they're going to get, most likely. McVay, quote, "This is a tough feeling. Our guys did a good job being able to navigate through the season. To be able to still win the division is a good accomplishment. But I don't know right now is the time to celebrate that." And again, Stafford's screwing up, first division title of his career, quote, "There's some plays out there I want back. I guess the division title is nice. It means you get a home playoff game, but we sure would have rather won the game." Yeah, you would have, but it's a Rams team. I'll just say it flat out. I don't trust. If I'm playing on Monday night, it'll be Arizona, and Arizona's played crappy football for the better part of the last 3 months. So I don't know that I'm going to get there. But from a where's this line going standpoint, clear wise guy movement towards Arizona at anything higher than +4. I'm not convinced we're going to see a movement off of this number, certainly not right away. One thing I do want to do that we didn't get a chance to do here, I also want to go through the odds to win it all.
Okay.
Just real quick, and maybe you and I can riff on that for just a minute. I'm seeing the Packers in the 4-1 range, and of all the things you want to do if you're making future book bets, please shop around. Every book adjusts to their own liabilities with future book. There's no broader betting market. So you find dramatic differences from one book to the next. But the Packers and Chiefs are in the 4-1 range. The Bills, Bucs in the 7 or 8-1 range. Titans just below them. Rams in the 10-1 range. Cowboys 12-1. And then you got your longer shots. The Bengals anywhere from 15 or 20-1. The Patriots in that range. Cardinals at 25-1. 49ers at 25-1, and the Raiders, Eagles, and Steelers all prohibitive long shots. Those three teams are not winning the Super Bowl. Don't waste your money. Raiders, Eagles, and Steelers, they might win a game. They won't win 4. When it comes to betting in the future market for the NFL postseason, if there's any team you want that's not the Packers or the Chiefs, you want the Packers and the Chiefs, the favorites, okay, find your 4-1 and get it and lock in. But if you want anyone that's going to be a dog in any game other than Green Bay or KC, don't do it the lazy way. The lazy way is you make one bet before the playoffs start and then you hold it. If you want to do it the pro way, you make the bets each week backing the team you want to support on the money line. And then the next week you bet them again on the money line. And of course that gives you a chance to hedge off your bet, not by betting the other side and giving the books more, but by betting less if you so choose to do so after your team's won a game or 2 or 3. Or you can do a true rollover. But unless you want one of the two favorites, the Super Bowl future odds, the best way to bet it is not one future book wager. And sure, that'll give you something you can tweet it out and look really smart for your friends. But the guys who are actually making the money are betting them on the money line every game. And that will give you twice as much by the end of the postseason as these future book bets will make.
And Teddy, I've already seen a couple guys asking about the futures in the chat box. Guys, appreciate the questions and the comments here. We got people from really all over the world on the other side of the pond as well in Europe. But what about the Buffalo Bills plus 750? Also the Tennessee Titans, what, plus 900? I mean, they're the 1 seed, Teddy. Is that surprising to you?
No, Titans aren't sexy. Titans don't have a huge fan base, a national fan base, the way that the other teams do.
Okay.
If I had to make one wager in the AFC, it'd be on Tennessee. Of course,
Me too.
They win 2 games, they're in.
Right.
It's not close for me in the AFC as to what future book wager I make. The only one that I would look at is the Tennessee Titans. All right.
And
in the NFC,
money line. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, in the NFC, good luck. Maybe Dallas at 12-1, but I wouldn't bet Dallas at 12-1. You can just bet them on the money line in every game. And you'll do far better than that because the Cowboys won't be at home after this week. Assuming there aren't upsets everywhere.
Okay, and with the Tennessee Titans, only getting the bye, wouldn't you make more doing it the plus 900 rather than them on the money line? Because they're not going to be that big of underdogs, are they, Teddy?
Sure they would. I would be surprised if the Titans aren't. Even at home, I think the Titans will be dogs. If they play Kansas City,
yeah,
they'll be dogs.
Okay.
Maybe not against Buffalo. Tennessee Buffalo would be fun.
Yeah.
The replay of the Music City Miracle wouldn't shock me. That maybe you're right about Tennessee. That's kind of interesting now that I'm thinking about it. Because what would the spread be with Tennessee again? Because Cincinnati's going to be power rated lower than they are. New England's going to be power rated lower than they are. The Raiders are. The Steelers are. It's really Chiefs or Bills, the only teams that are going to be power rated higher than Tennessee. But a decent chance they could face both of those squads.
Good stuff, Teddy. And here, just a couple questions. Cedric asking, do you think the Raiders defense having 88 snaps, including overtime, makes them an easy fade against Cincinnati? Keep in mind, it's a short week, Sunday night they're the first game on Saturday, Teddy. Is that something working into your handicap here?
I don't love it. Look, the only way I can play that game is the Raiders. Okay. If I got to play on that game, don't buy it. You know what it is. It's the Raiders. I am worried about the defense. Giving up all those fourth downs on the final drive last night. Of course, I'm worried about the defense. It's not like the Raiders have a great pass defense. Their secondary gets torched, and their secondary can't get stops on third and fourth down, which we saw last night repeatedly. Their pass rush is good, though. Real good.
All right, Teddy, let's leave it with this. Did you like the new format here? Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and a Monday night football game? Are you a fan of that?
Sure, it's fine. Am I a fan of it? I'd rather have everything done by Monday morning so we can talk about everything Monday night for opening line report. I don't know what we're going to do next week. I hope we have the matchup
it's going to be interesting. But
if we don't, then we'll do with what we have, and then we'll do the best we can. So from that standpoint, I don't love the Monday night game, but from a fan standpoint, from a better standpoint, the more you spread out the action, the better off it is for everybody. We get to enjoy the games, we get to watch the games, we get to bet the games. It should be fun.
Absolutely. Well said from Teddy Covers. Guys, follow him on Twitter at Teddy_covers. I'm on Twitter at Drew Martin Bets. If you're watching on replay, guys, feel free to drop a line below in the reply section on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Teddy and myself will be in there throughout the week answering any questions. Huge shout out to the chat box. Everybody chiming in live with your opinions, your questions. We love it. Thank you to everybody out there doing that. And Teddy, I'll throw it over to you for any closing thoughts, kind of final thoughts here for the show before we shut it down.
So what do we have? We have 6 games this week, 4 games next week, 2 games the week after, and then the Super Bowl. Altogether, that's 13 games. Right? It plays out over 4 weekends, but it's 13 games. So that is fewer games than a normal regular season week. There are people that go crazy in the playoffs. I don't care if you had a great year or you had a terrible year. Just because it's the playoffs doesn't mean you're betting more, doesn't mean you're betting more games, doesn't mean you're betting every game. Stay disciplined in January. That's my final piece of advice for this show. Good luck. Enjoy the games. We'll do it again next week. Cheers.
Discipline is key, guys. Cheers to everyone out there. Please smash that like button. For Teddy Covers, I'm Drew Martin. Best of luck with your bets. We'll talk next Monday, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Best of luck, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Have you ever wanted to create your own handicapping dream team? You can now build your own superstar handicapping lineup using our Pick Your Team program at both WagerTalk.com and SportsMemo.com. Even more exciting, until Sunday, January 16th at midnight, you can save 15% off your Pick Your Team using coupon code PYT15 when checking out. Dave Koken, Marco D'Angelo, and Ralph Michaels, John Ryan, Joseph D'Amico, and Rocketman. The combinations are endless, and you can choose up to 5 handicappers. You start saving once you choose any 2 handicappers of your choice, and you can pay as little as under $6 per handicapper. Who will make your dream lineup? Just go to WagerTalk or SportsMemo, click Pick Your Team, and personally hand-select your handicapping roster. Don't forget, coupon code PYT15 will expire January 16th, so make sure to get your 15% discount.